Welcome to section 5.3. We are dealing with adding and subtracting polynomials. This, for the most part, is going to be review of Algebra 1. It's also going to touch base on chapters 1 and 2 in Algebra 2 so far. And all we're going to be doing is adding or subtracting and then multiplying some polynomials that we have. And we'll show you a couple of different ones. I want to start with adding them, though. When we add polynomials, we want to use the phrase combine like terms. Okay, now in this case, let's talk about like terms. Like terms are the same variable and have the same exponent. Okay, so same variable and same exponent. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I start with the highest exponent and then work my way down because that's the order they have to be in the answer anyways. So I'm looking at a y cubed. Are there any other y cubed terms? The answer is no. So I'm just going to write 3y cubed. That one stays. Then I'm going to look at y squared. I have a negative 2y squared and a negative 4y squared. Negative 2 plus negative 4 is negative 6 with a y squared. And you're just combining the numbers. Okay, now let's look at the single y's. I have a negative 7y plus 2y. Negative 7 plus 2 is negative 5y. And then I have this negative 5 at the end, so I put negative 5 at the end. Okay? So we're going, and again, if you go in order, you won't have to rewrite your answer. You'll be done there. So let's do one more. I'm going to move this down. Get rid of this. All right, now I have x's and y's. We suggest you go in alphabetical order. Okay, so I'm going to start with my x's, and I'm going to the highest exponent. So I have this x squared here and no other x squareds. So I'm going to start with 24x squared. Okay, now I'm going to go to my single x's. I have a positive 30x and I have a positive 7x. So that gets me a positive 37x. Okay, so I'm done with my x's. Now it looks like I've got y's, and then I'm going to do my numbers. So my y's, I have 14y plus 4y, that's 18y, minus 10y, 18 minus 10 is a positive 8y. And then last but not least, I do my numbers. So I have a negative 17 plus 2 is a negative 15, and then I'm done. So this is going to seem very familiar to what you've done in previous chapters. We did this in chapter 1. We just didn't have exponents attached to it, but it's the same type of thing. So let's get out of this. Let's go over to the subtraction side. Okay. In order to subtract like terms, I'm going to give you a two-part idea. First, we want to distribute the negative. My pen doesn't want to write with me. Distribute the negative to the second group, okay, to second, and I'm going to say group because the second chunk of parentheses. And then after we distribute, we're going to combine the like terms like we did before. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite my first one because I don't have anything in front of it. So I've got an 8x cubed minus an x squared minus 5x plus 1. This negative now is going to get distributed. So negative 3x cubed. The negative get distributed here. So a negative 2x squared. Distribute the negative again. A negative and a negative makes a positive x. And a negative and a 7 makes minus 7. Okay? Now I'm back to a question like the ones on the left-hand side, and I just start combining. Now again, I'm starting with the highest exponent. So I have an 8x cubed and a negative 3x cubed. So 8 minus 3 is 5 with an x cubed. Now I go x squared. I have a negative, and I'm going to put in the 1, negative 1x squared and negative 2x squared. So negative 1 plus a negative 2 is negative 3x squared. I have a negative 5x and a positive 1x. So negative 5 plus 1 is negative 4x. And last but not least, 1 minus 7 is negative 6. Okay? So once you distribute the negative, you just combine the terms that are alike. So let's do one more and then we'll go to multiplication. Now I really like this one because I've added a couple of distributions here. There's nothing in front of the first parentheses, so this stays the same. 14x squared plus 7x minus 2. The negative is in front of the second group, so this negative gets distributed. So I have a negative 4x and a negative 3. This negative goes to the next grouping, so I have a negative 7x squared and a negative 14. Now I go and combine like terms. So 14x squared and negative 7x squared is 7x squared. Positive 7x minus 4x, so 7 minus 4 is 3x. Negative 2 and negative 3 makes negative 5. And negative 14 makes negative 19. Okay, now you'll notice this, I'm using different symbols for my different like terms. I'm using squares and circles and triangles and lines, things like that. We need to see that in order to see what kind of work you believe are the like terms. Okay, so we're done with addition and subtraction. Flip the page, let's do multiplication. Now I'm going to keep this big so that I can do the work right along with you, because some of this will take a little bit of work. Okay, now when we multiply, we're going to use the idea of FOIL. We're just going to expand our idea of FOIL a little bit. Okay, what's going to happen is we're basically going to take the first value, and since there's two things in the second group, I'm going to multiply it times the first and then times the second. So 3x squared times 2x is 6, and now I have x cubed. 3x squared times 1 is a positive 3x squared. Okay, now I do the second number. 8x times 2x is 16 with an x squared. 8x times 1 is 8x. And then I do the 1. 1 times 2x is 2x. 1 times 1 is 1. Once you're here, the only thing you have left to do then is combine the like terms. So there's no other cubed, so I leave 6x cubed. I now have 3x squared and 16x squared, which makes 19x squared. 8x plus 2x is 10x, and then I have a plus 1 at the end. And so this is my final answer. Okay? And again, you've done this in Algebra 1. I just want to walk back through to make sure we're stopped. Okay, take a look. Here we go, the next one. 7x squared times negative 4x cubed. Well, 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. I had 2 x's, I'm getting 3 more x's, so I have x to the 5th. 7x squared times 2x squared is 14, and I had an x squared and an x squared is x to the 4th. 7x squared times negative 17 is negative 119x squared. Make sure my math is right here. All right, then I do the 8x. 8x times negative 4x cubed is negative 32x to the fourth. 8x times 2x squared is 16x cubed. 8x times negative 17 is negative 136x. Okay? We combine like terms again. Now there's no other x to the fifth, so I rewrite negative 28x to the fifth. I have 14x to the fourth and negative 32x to the fourth. That gives me negative 18x to the fourth. I have, let's go to x cubed next. The only thing I have is the 16, so I'm going to add plus 16x cubed. I now go to my x squared. The only thing I have is this negative 119, so negative 119x squared. And then I have this negative 136x at the end. Okay. Let's go one more, and then I'll have you do one on your own. We know, sorry, get rid of this. We know that when you have something squared, it means that there are two of them. And so I'm going to rewrite this as 7x minus 10 times 7x minus 10. Okay? So I'm now going back to FOIL once I write them twice. 7x times 7x is 49x squared. 7x times negative 10 is negative 70x. Negative 10 times 7x is negative 70x. Negative 10 times negative 10 is a positive 100. So if I combine my like terms, I get 49x squared minus 140x plus 100. Okay? And so we're going to write it twice and then FOIL. So this last one, I just want you to do on your own because I think that's easily doable. Okay? Write it twice and then FOIL them. So when you talk about multiplication, this is kind of the idea going through. Okay? So let me show you what happens when we multiply 3 of them. Because here we multiplied 2. Your book gives you formulas. Now, I'm not a huge fan of formulas, but I want you to write it down so you have it, and then I want to show you how it works. This idea of a cubed basically means that there are 3 of these x plus 4. So you have x plus 4 times an x plus 4 times an x plus 4. Okay, now, you could FOIL 2 of them and then multiply your answer times 1 more. If you're really good at FOIL, this is probably fine. At some point, though, in Part B of Algebra 2, I'm going to make you learn this procedure anyways, so it might give you a leg up in Part B if I can help you get it learned now. Here's how this sum of cubes works. I will end up with an answer that looks something like this. The first thing cubed plus 3 times the first thing squared times the second thing plus 3 times 1 of the first times 2 of the second plus b cubed, the second thing cubed. Okay, now I know you're looking at that going, what? I promise I'll explain it. Take a look at the second one. I'm just going to give you this. The first thing cubed minus 3a squared b plus 3ab squared minus b cubed. And I want to show you how this works. And I'm going to do 2 of them with you, and then we're going to do 1 as our warm-up in class tomorrow so that I can walk you through it one more time. Here's how it works. This is my first thing. Here's my A. Here's my B. What I want you to remember is this pattern, 1, 3, 3, 1. Okay, and if you can remember that pattern, I can help you get these questions right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start out by writing these pattern and leaving some blanks. So 1, leave a spot, 3, leave a spot, 3, leave a spot, 1, leave a spot. Seems okay so far. All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start with my first term, this x. And I know it's the third power, so I'm going to start by writing the x cubed next to the 1, and then I'm going to work my way down. X squared next to the second one, x to the first next to the third one, x to the 0 by the last one. And so you'll notice I went 3, 2, 1, 0. Now, I started at 3 and worked my way down. When I do this with the 4, I'm going to start at 0 and work my way up. So I'm going to times this by 4 to the 0, times this by 4 to the first, times this by 4 to the second, times the last one by 4 cubed. In between each of these, because there is a plus sign, I'm going to put a plus sign between each of these. If you can get yours set up, now we just need to look at how this works. Okay, so I'm going to change my color. Let's take a look at it. According to section 1, anything to the 0 power is just 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cross off anything to the 0 power, because when I multiply by 1, it doesn't change the value. Now if I look at this first term, I have 1 times x cubed. That is just x cubed plus 4 to the first is 4, so 4 times 3 is 12, so I have 12 with an x squared. Okay, plus 4 squared is 16. 16 times 3 is 48 with an x, plus 4 cubed is 64 times 1 makes 64. This is your final answer, and I didn't have to use FOIL. You'll also notice that there are no like terms to combine, because when you use this formula, everything is in order as it should be with nothing to combine. Okay, so let's try one more, and I'm doing this one more because there's now numbers in front of the x, and that can cause some issues. So I'm going to walk you through this one, and then we'll do the last one in class as a warm-up. So here we go. I'm going to write 1, because it's a third power. 1, leave a space, 3, leave a space, 3, 1. Okay? Now, we said take your first term, which is this whole thing, and start at the third power. Because there's more than one item, I'm going to put it in parentheses. So 3x I raise to the third power, and then the next one I raise 3x to the second power, and then I raise 3x to the first power, and then I raise 3x to the 0 power. Okay? Then we say you take your second term, which in this case is a -5, and I'm going to start at the 0 power and work my way up. So I take -5 to the 0 plus -5 to the first plus -5 to the second plus, I'm running out of space, -5 to the third. Okay, now, sorry about that. Let me change my color again. Let's get a color we can see. Anything to the 0 power, we said cancel it out because it won't affect our answer. Now here's the tricky part. We're going to go back to section 1 again and use our exponent rules. 3 cubed is 27, and then x cubed is x cubed. Plus, now I'm going to make this an extra line going through. I've got this 3. Now 3 squared is 9. X squared is x squared, and -5 times 1 is times -5 plus. And I'm going to simplify this in a minute. I got the 3 out front. 3x to the first is 3x. -5 squared is a positive 25 plus. 1 times -5 cubed is just -5 cubed. -5 cubed is -125. So I only had to do this at that point in time. Now what I'm going to do is multiply all my numbers together and get a final answer. So this 27x cubed stays. 3 times 9 is 27, times negative 5 is negative 135 with an x squared. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 25 is a positive 225 with an x. And then we have this negative 125 at the end. And if you take this question into steps, it ends up being quite a bit easier. Okay? Now again, you may, if you want, I'm not telling you you have to use this formula. If you want, take 3x minus 5 and FOIL it with a 3x minus 5. And whatever your answer is, multiply again by a 3x minus 5. The problem is, by the time you're done with that, I can probably do 3 or 4 of these formula questions, and you're still working on one question. So I would suggest you learn this because I'm going to make you do it. Any teacher is going to make you do it in Part B anyways, but we're going to walk through that third one in class together. So that's the end of section 5.3. Thanks for watching. Again, if you can, try and practice these ahead of time.